Good evening and welcome to the Kingsburg City Council regular meeting. Tonight is Wednesday, October 5th, 2022, and our chambers are open to 100% capacity for the public. Tonight, our invocation will be given by Pastor Tim Boynton of the Kingsburg Covenant Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Come on up and join us. Thank you.
All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for just a lovely autumn day, and we're looking forward to the temperatures coming down even more when we can just hang out at night and enjoy this town. We thank you for this town. We thank you for the people that live here. We thank you for the servants that you have raised up, and we thank you for this council and everyone who works in this town, who just gives of themselves selflessly for all of us. Lord, we just pray that your wisdom and your peace would be made available to these leaders, and we pray that this would be a good meeting. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You can be seated. I'll call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you please do roll call?
Councilmember Picado?
Here.
Councilmember Palomar?
Here.
Councilmember Purcell Jr.?
Here.
Councilmember Roman?
Here.
Mayor Norris?
Here, thank you. Item number 3 tonight is under presentations. Oh, I'm sorry, back up to 2. We need to approve our agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. On to number 3. You can see it's our favorite thing to do because I jump forward. Is our presentation by our Fresno County Economic Development Corporation. Presentation by Sherry Neal, Chief Operating Officer. Welcome.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. On behalf of our President and CEO, Leanne Eager, I would like to thank you for allowing us to come and speak about the EDC, the services that we provide, and some of the exciting things that we have planned in the future as it relates to economic development. As you can tell, I have the entire team with me on today.
Yes.
All of those lovely folks in blue. They didn't tell me we were wearing blue, so here I am in my black. So I didn't get the memo. Usually I'm sending the memos out. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do the introduction, a little bit about our history, and then I'm going to turn it over to the staff to present to you their different programs and introduce their respective staff. A little bit about our history. About 41 years ago, we were founded. We were eventually a member of, or part of the Chamber of Commerce. As you can tell, our mission is to market Fresno County as the premier location for business prosperity, and we do that through our core services of business attraction, business expansion, and business retention, and then we sprinkle a little workforce development in there as well. We have 40 members on our board of directors. We have 11 members that make up our executive committee. And then our board of directors is made up of various representatives from industries such as our building trades, education sector, nonprofit, business, real estate, you name it. I think we have every industry covered that is represented on our board. And our board really does provide us with that support and that vision as we move forward in our plans to make sure that Fresno County is the place that individuals, companies want to come and do business and people want to work and live. This is our administration team made up of myself, the Chief Operating Officer, our President and CEO, Leanne Eager, who is probably traveling right now. I believe she was in San Diego and she was traveling to Bakersfield for another speaking engagement. Our Controller, Paul Thorne, and then our Executive Assistant, Merritt Pacini. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Charlene Hakeem, who will talk a little bit about 5 cities.
Good evening. It's nice to see everyone in person after 2 years.
So as you know, I'm the representative, the ED representative for the East Side cities, and I've worked along with East Side cities and Kingsburg. With our Joint Powers of Authority partnership in EDC, we have a membership of 7 cities, including the County of Fresno. The way the membership works is we have a board members that consist of 1 elective official from each city. We have our executive committee team that has a city manager from each city. And with that, we have either the city manager, a CAO, or anyone else that the city wants to assign to that position for the executive committee. The committees meet quarterly, and I want to thank Mayor North and City Manager Henderson. They were our chairs this year for the 5 cities. So she represented the board and he represented executive city. The chairs do take, they are present for 1 year, and then we go to the next city in rotation. So there's no voting. Whoever's next, we kind of see if they want to lead. So I really thank them both for being the leaders this year, and they have a couple of more meetings, and I don't know if they're going like this or yay or sad or which one it is. Okay, a little bit about what we do with ED services for the Joint Powers of Authority. The first thing is our administrative. It did start in 1998 in Selma, April 1st in 1998. And when it did start back then, they did everything. They did the administrative and everything. As it grew from 5 to 7 members, we started to take over some of those responsibilities, EDC. So we have administrative. We do the 700 forms, which all of you are well aware. You fill one out for the positions you're in. We also help with the budgeting, any budgets that have to do with 5 cities. We help with logistics. We get all the meetings ready where we're going to have them, get everyone on board and get them there. And then we also help with minutes. So we take all the minutes, put all the packets together for the meeting. The next thing we do is our business development. That consists of retention and attraction. The retention team, which I'm part of also, we just work with the local businesses to make sure that we retain them in your cities, and we help them and guide them with different incentives so they can grow. And then if they want to expand, we also help them that. We have attractions team that helps bring new businesses into the city. So those are some of the things that we do. We have our next capacity building. With that, there's several things we do, but the main thing is we get guest speakers. So when the chairs took over from Kingsburg, we did meet with them at the beginning of the year. We kind of see what their goals and ideas are for the region and the 5 cities to see where they would like to go in the future and what can help impact our region and make it successful. The next thing we have is our marketing and promotion. So we have digital marketing, we have resources for the businesses, and we also have launch events, which I'll talk about right now. So I know that Mayor North and Mr. Henderson might want to jump up for joy for this process. It's been a really long process.
2 years
I'm
or
excited
3
to
years?
report this is our new logo. The board voted on it about 2 months ago. So we are changing from 5 cities because we have grown. Now we're going to be Center Point District. And it took a lot of work just to get the color, the C right, the P right, the dot right. So everyone was really patient, and this is our new logo. Because we did grow from 5 to 7 members, it did prompted a rebranding. We wanted to make sure that we hired Jeffrey Scott Agency, and they were assigned to rebrand something that was going to develop the regional challenges and opportunities, a branding that was going to be regional cohesive, and something that was going to leverage our strengths as a region. The really exciting thing about Center Point District we have coming up for the marketing is we actually will be, our next board meeting is November 4th, and hopefully at that next board meeting we will have a media press kit for how we are going to launch this and let everybody know in the 7 cities and the region that we have a new name. Along with that, we're planning sometime in January to do a press release. So we're going to do a press release. Jeff Scott Agency will be in charge of that. We'll have the press come out, speakers, so we'll be organizing that all behind the scenes. The really neat thing I like about the Center Point, when you go on the EDC website, there will be a landing page When you click on that landing page, the center point will come up, your communities will come up, and things that you, the culture, some of the culture that you want to show in your communities. The really fun thing about it is when you click on the landing page, you're going to hit like Kingsburg, and it's going to bring up the restaurant. We call it a digital foodie trail, right? So everything's always better around food. Can we agree with that? Absolutely, right? So those are some of the exciting things that are coming up with the 5 cities. And like I said, once again, I want to thank Mayor North and your city manager for just all the hard work and dedication that they put in this last year and really helping us to bring this out. And like I said, it's going to be really exciting times for the region. Thank you.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. My name is Julian Ramos. I'm the Client Services Manager at the EDC. I'm tasked with leading the business attraction activities for the organization. As an aside, I'm from Kingsburg, so it's nice to be in my hometown. Charlene mentioned, everything's better with food. I think I'm going to take staff next door to Hong Kong, get an L9, and probably drag them to take a dollar horse picture. So, yes. I want to introduce my team. Tiffany Luke, she's a business attraction specialist. Her background is in international relations, and she's been leading our foreign direct investment initiative that she'll probably talk about in a second. Miguel is new to our team. He is not new to the EDC. He's been a part of the BEAR business expansion and retention team, but this is his 3rd day, I think, on my staff. So very, very happy to have him. So I mentioned, business attraction. I'm a bit biased. I think our job is probably the most fun. We get to go out of town, out of the state, hopefully soon out of the country, and engage businesses really from every industry to see, if we could make them a good fit in Kingsburg, in Fresno County. Part of that is coordinating with city staff or, local brokers and things like that. Whatever we need to do to really market Kingsburg, Fresno County as their premier place to grow their business. We tailor each response to each individual client. So as you can see here, there's location competitive advantages. So we put together real estate opportunities for the clients who are interested, either wage or labor information as well. We've got a really smart team that Chris will introduce a little later that puts together some really great labor advantages. And we also have quality of life information as well. I think I'll have Tiffany come on and take this next slide.
Thank you, Julian. Yes, so along with that marketing packet, we also create and utilize a wide variety of marketing materials, which, as an aside, would love your input on with city staff. One of those is a trifold that we take to trade shows and conferences to showcase Kingsburg's assets and facilitate Kingsburg's economic development. Some of these trade shows and events that we take these to and talk about Kingsburg with, showcase the assets, are the Manufacturing Summit, Select USA, which is an FDI-centric trade show in Washington, D.C., which brings me to foreign direct investment. We're currently working on a strategy on foreign direct investment, which would take Kingsburg's economic development to the global stage and give it a global reach, potentially at some international trade shows, as Julian mentioned.
And I'm not sure if you guys are aware, there's a new T-Mobile Customer Experience Center that just opened up not too long ago. So we're proud to have been a part of the initial conversations with corporate site selection in 2018, and since have done various recruitment plans and events with T-Mobile and with Kingsburg as well. So definitely proud of the work we've done. Again, I mentioned I'm from Kingsburg, so it was so weird. I was lucky enough to have a tour earlier this summer, and just being in the old Kmart building where, we'd put clothes on layaway and where we'd go to Little Caesars, it was great. It was a great experience. So very proud of that moment. And so, yeah, we're proud of the work we've done. We're proud of the work we can continue to do. And that comes with relationships with cities such as ours, I should say. Right? And I think I'll introduce Miguel. Thanks.
Oh, good evening, everybody. As you mentioned, Miguel Rodas, business expansion, business attractions and retention specialist. As you can see, I'm very new to the team and getting my title down, but I was formerly part of the business expansion and retention team. a part of that team, we have Jackie Cuevas, who's now the BEAR coordinator, who's not able to make it today, but we have the 2 retention specialists, which is Marcela Lara, Darren Galindo, and then the economic development specialist, Charlene Holguin, who you guys met earlier, and our new to the staff is Andrea Lee. So a part of the business expansion and retention, what they do, what they really focus on is establishing relationships with local businesses, kind of finding out where they're at and what resources are available to them at the moment, so that they can really be able to utilize that all that information and benefit from those resources. Within the past 3 years, as we know, is a very unique time for everybody. And businesses weren't any different. So part of those efforts in connecting to businesses with resources, we were able to bring $115,000 to 23 businesses through the HUB grant and $45,000 through the PPP, totaling $160,000 for businesses specifically in Kingsburg within the last 3 years. Being able to connect with businesses, what we're able to find and hear from them is that the biggest need right now is that workforce. Help wanted signs are everywhere. So we've been able to utilize our training programs to connect those graduates with these companies that are looking to hire. Some of the programs that we have are in partnership with the Department of Social Services. That includes truck driver training and the Valley Apprenticeship Connections. Truck driver training gives those folks an opportunity to get their CDL, which is a commercial driver license, at zero cost, and same with the introduction to trades through the Valley Apprenticeship Connections. And then in Selma, separately, what we have is the Central Valley Training Center, which is another introduction to construction and trades, then where they're able to get more experience and get familiarity with all the different trades, and then be able to utilize that knowledge and experience to then have something to kind of guide them in the direction they want to take. These programs are definitely growing, and we will talk about it a little bit more at the end of the presentation. But yeah, I just want to leave off with that, and then also introduce someone who will be able to talk about that, Mr. Chris Seitz.
Hi, my name is Chris Zeitz. I'm the Director of Special Projects. Will Oliver, who I'm sure many of you know, is not able to be here tonight. Normally doesn't have a problem with public speaking, but he had his wisdom teeth removed. So he's been a little quieter this week than usual. But I'm here to introduce my colleagues, Spencer Bremer and Ross Williams. They're both graduates of Fresno State University and are research analysts. And I'll now hand over the presentation to Ross for the next few slides.
Good evening, Council. You'll have to forgive my nerves. This is my first time doing this, so.
You got this.
So I just wanted to give you a little insight into the special projects team at the EDC. The EDC is invested in a data-driven approach to economic development, and because of that, we have an in-house data team that supports all of our departments and all of our day-to-day activities. For our attractions team, the support includes analysis demonstrating Fresno County's value to prospective companies. An example of this was the T-Mobile workforce availability analysis that Julian mentioned earlier. And we also provide reports such as industry cluster analysis that allows our team to proactively recruit businesses and industries that are likely to thrive in Fresno County. And to assist our business expansion and retention team, we provide industry and labor market analysis to identify services local businesses may need. And we provide program performance analysis for the various workforce programs that Miguel mentioned earlier. One of the other big projects that we operate is Fresno's Impact Economy, and that is part of the Fresno Drive Initiative. Through FIE, we are working towards redefining economic development through our partnership with the Impact Weighted Accounts Initiative at Harvard Business School. And a little background on that, rather than resorting to a bidding war in which cities highlight low costs of doing business or offer incentives without ensuring much in return, this project evaluates how businesses can bring back value to the community across multiple facets, including high-quality jobs or tackling challenges like drought and pollution. And with that, I will welcome Sherry Neal back up.
Good job.
Thank you.
Come on.
So I'm going to speak a little bit about the California Transportation Commission. We at the EDC we're very proud that our very own president and CEO, about 2.5 years ago, she was appointed to the California Transportation Commission. And as you can tell by that second bullet, it says that the California Transportation Commission is responsible for programming and allocating funds for construction of highways, passenger rail transit, and active transportation. This past year, earlier this year in January 2022, Leanne was appointed chair of the California Transportation Commission. And why that is so important is because she is the only person from the Central Valley representing the Central Valley. So we have a voice on CTC. And so I can't speak to all of her accomplishments on CTC, but I can tell you that there's one that she's really, really proud of, and that is the funding for 41 South. As you're heading to the coast, there's 4 lanes, and then there's 2 lanes, and then there's 4 lanes, and it's a very dangerous strip for about 12 miles. Leanne relayed to us that that funding for that had been in the queue for 22 years. And in the past year or so, it has now been fully funded. And so they will be widening that 12-mile stretch from all 4 lanes all the way down. And so she's very proud of that. And so it's just great that we have a voice, so that for any transportation needs that we have in the Central Valley, we have Leanne who's advocating for us. So at this time, I'll turn it back over to Chris to close us out.
Thank you. Hello. So I'm sure you've heard that Fresno County EDC led a grant application that in the beginning of August received an award of a little over $23 million to support training and up to or hopefully more than 2,500 job placements across 4 key sectors. Those include business services, construction, manufacturing, transportation, and that will take place or is now taking place in Fresno County, Madera, Kings, and Tulare. We in the special projects team at Fresno County EDC, we started working on this grant right when it was announced in the summer of last year, and brought together our partners, not only in Fresno County but also across that region. And as a result of the collaboration and months of continuing to develop our proposal ideas together, we were able to put forward this grant application that asked for nearly the ceiling of what the award level was, and we're one of the few organizations, few partnerships in the country to receive close to that ceiling level. There were a handful of awards that were above 20 million, but we were one of them that reached that level, which we're very proud of and humbled by as well. The reason we identified those industries, we knew through our research, the special projects team, and also from our work with attractions and business retention and expansion, we knew that these were industries that were thriving or had the potential to thrive in our region, and also were industries that had a large demand for new jobs and upskilling existing jobs. And as part of our program design elements, we wanted to not necessarily reinvent the wheel. If a program's doing well, we want to continue working with that program, perhaps expanding the coverage, maybe enrolling people that aren't eligible for it because they don't qualify for one program or the other, but now we can put them in there in this program with this funding. Providing it at different times in the evening, on the weekends, bringing it out on the road, so to speak, bringing it to other communities like Kingsburg, having it hosted at sites on a traveling basis. These are ideas we're considering or we plan to implement. And then also bringing in programming that is really employer-led and identifies the essential skills employers need either for entry-level workers or to upskill their current workforce, and does that on as quick a time frame as efficiently as possible. And lastly, we want to make sure we reach as many communities as we can, and part of that work will include bringing in a broad range of community-based organizations. We had 15 provide letters of support for this grant. I've been in recent weeks doing mostly web calls, but having conversations with additional community-based organizations to grow that, and providing platforms that will help them facilitate that work and help our training providers facilitate that work and track program outcomes and provide support or wraparound services to participants so they're able to complete training and get a job. That concludes our presentation. We'd be happy to answer any questions now if you have them.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
The question I have is, your training facilities, are those different towns around Fresno County, or is it mostly just in Fresno?
That's a very good question. So we're actually still in a program design phase with the grant, which we anticipate being into through first quarter of 2023. It's really great that a grant allows you to, after you receive funding, to then start bringing everyone together and make sure the plan makes sense. So to answer your question, we won't be limited just to the city of Fresno, and I'd be happy to have conversations with whoever you'd want me to speak with regarding like how we bring in that kind of agile and responsive programming to Kingsburg as well.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
A lot of teamwork for that presentation right there.
Well,
Piggybacking off of that.
Sure.
I'll take it and I can No, I'm missing. Awkward.
What's that?
She asked if I had airdrop.
Dun, 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 dun.
Looks like everyone's squeezing in. You're fine right there, yeah. I can't see Charlene. There we go. Okay. All right, I can see everyone. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. Got it. Thank you.
I will. I'll be able to see it. Thank you. I will tell you that.
Just
Word
like
for
that.
word.
Like
I
attitude.
will. I will.
Okay.
All right, real quick.
Gotta have those.
Candid moment or something?
It's proof she presented. That's awesome. You're welcome to
I
stay
did
if
my
you'd
job
like.
today. No picture didn't happen.
Quite a choreographed.
Somewhere here, you.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
That's what they said.
A lot of people got up there.
Okay, now we will move on to item number 4, which is public comment. This is the time for any citizen to come forward and address the city council on any issue within its jurisdiction that is not listed on the agenda. There's a minimum of 5 minutes that is allowed for each speaker. And I'm just going to add one more thing. California Government Code Section 54954-3A allows public comment on any item of public interest that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Therefore, we'd like to remind the public that public comment cannot be used for campaigning for political office, either by candidates or other members of the public, and we appreciate your understanding. So do we have anyone here that would like to come up and speak from public comments?
I would.
State your name, and if you're a resident of Kingsburg, please.
Too much. Oh, God. Hello. David Silva, District 1 resident.
Yes, sir.
Mayor Norris, City Council, staff, city staff. Honestly, I came to bring good cheer tonight. I mean, I wanted to bring some positivity because I've been working on a few things. And so I've lived in the district for 25 years. Was my starter home, as most of you know. I saw the neighborhood develop. I saw it mature, and I saw it grow. And with that, so there's been some maintenance-related items that I've noticed. And so little issues that I've started to notice: street lights weren't working, shrubbery that's overgrown, trees that are buckling concrete. And so those are like little simple issues that can become bigger problems. And so I'm like, how am I going to address all of these things that I see? And so what I learned through a referral is that the city has this great website, and I don't think that everybody realizes it, because myself included, I didn't realize it. And so there's a drop down in the actual website that says what is it? Service requests, right? You hit that, and then it sends you to the citizen requests tracker, which I'm like, citizen request tracker. So I hit that, and boom, you go literally into a menu that you can identify a street light that's not working if you just put the information in. And so this is what I did, right? So there's several little issues like that. Street lights are out. I go, well, I can fix this with this beautiful website that we have for all the citizens to go in there, put the poll number. All the polls are clearly marked. Put the poll number in there, and I send it. Within the day, Daniel, Director of Public Works, sends me back a note. We're working on it, and it's literally was resolved within a few days, no more than a week. And I'm like, this thing is the best thing ever. So I've been working with Daniel on a lot of other those little issues, but we don't want those little issues to become big problems. Like, the shrubbery on Sierra Street was really tall. People were pulling out of the business park. I had residents that were like, hey, we can't see like that type of stuff. I said, it's no problem. We could go on this little website and fix this type of stuff, or I can talk to Public Works and figure it out. So literally, I think people would like to know that. And so I just wanted to say thank you to whoever created that thing, because it's awesome. And a special thanks to Daniel, because he's helping getting some stuff maintenance-wise, the issues cleaned up so they're not problems later. So that's all I had to say. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in Chambers that would like to offer up public comment? Okay, hearing none, I will close public comment, and we will move on to item number 5, which is consent calendar. These are items that are considered routine in nature, and they're placed on consent calendar, and they will be considered as one item and voted upon in one vote unless individual consideration is requested. Each vote in favor of consent calendar is considered a recorded and separate affirmative vote in favor of each action listed. Approval of consent calendar items include recitals, reading ordinances by titles only, and adoption of recommended actions contained in staff reports. Tonight we have 5.1, our council minutes, 5.2, check register, and 5.3, approve of the public provider ground emergency medical transportation provider agreement execution recital, sorry. It's a mouthful. Okay, so do we have anybody that would like anything pulled from council? We'll start with council first. No? Staff? No? Public? Okay, so we will need a motion in order to consider this.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, regular calendar. We have 6.1. Our first item is Mid Valley Disposal Municipal Solid Waste Franchise Supplemental Agreement. Staff report and presentation by our Public Works Director, Daniel Galvez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Here today to propose a municipal solid waste franchise supplemental agreement. As you're well aware, SB 1383 has provided a complex array of mandatory requirements for all California cities requiring residential and commercial premises to comply with rigorous organic recycling programs. SB 1383 has outdated our current disposal franchise agreement with Mid-Valley Disposal. The initial 10-year term of our current agreement is set to end in June of 2024. To meet the demands of the implementing, managing, and administering the requirements of SB 1383, an amendment to the current agreement was considered, but due to the complexity and number of changes required, a supplemental agreement is being proposed. The supplemental agreement would allow for Mid-Valley and staff to handle most of the requirements under SB 1383. The initial term of this agreement shall retroactively commence on October 1st, 2022 and expire June 30th, 2032. So beginning July 1st, 2024 and on each July anniversary date thereafter, the term of this agreement will be extended automatically for one additional year so as to have a rolling 10-year agreement. The requirements of SB 1383 have required Mid-Valley Disposal to make capital investments to be able to implement programs to meet the requirements of SB 1383. SB 1383 is targeted at reducing short-lived climate pollutants caused by organic waste. Sent to landfills, organic waste creates large amounts of greenhouse gases and negatively impacts the environment and quality. So we are recommending that council approve resolution 22064, approving the proposed municipal solid waste franchise supplemental agreement with Mid-Valley Disposal, effective retroactively to October 1st, 2022. This does help us ensure financial stability and promote sustainable growth. Prior action, as we've been kind of on this SB 1383 journey, we passed a municipal ordinance to update our code. We went through the Prop 218 process. We adopted the rates. Now we're getting ready to update this agreement. And then our next step is working with Mid-Valley to kind of implement those programs to our residents and to our businesses. So we have two representatives from Mid-Valley here today if you guys have any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions or discussion from council? No?
Only question I have is how long are we going to have the same container for green waste? Is it going to change? It's going to change.
So you're talking about residential?
Residential.
It's the same container.
It will be.
Yeah. So the one that may change, I think they're going away from the brown garbage container to a gray container, but those will be swapped out as your brown container goes. Yeah.
I know several, a year or so ago, when
The gray one started kind of popping up.
we talked about, I knew they were going to change.
Color swap,
When
yeah.
I was thinking it was the green waste, but I guess it's the brown one for the trash. Okay.
Yeah.
So the other question is, where's the state going to put all the brown ones?
Yes.
We'll put them in the blue container.
landfill, right? We throw those in the landfill.
The important questions, Councilman.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilmember Joe Heisdorf. I'm the CFO of Mid-Valley Disposal. We've got Isaac Kulikov here. He's a familiar face. He runs Operation Yard here in town. I'm just thinking it's been quite a journey since 2014 when we came in and you guys were at a RFP and we came in to provide the service. A lot of things have changed over the years. Our industry has changed dramatically. SB 1383 is the biggest one, I think, since the Integrated Waste Management Act of 1989, which really integrated recycling out there. This is just as impactful with respect to green waste organics recycling. So, as you mentioned, one of the provisions of this new regulation is they've regulated the colors. We can't use the good old brown Mid-Valley dumpster. We stopped buying brown paint and brown carts 2 years ago once these final regulations were adopted. So. I want to thank staff for working through this. You guys have gone through those processes. Obviously, there's an ordinance. You guys have adopted the rate structure to support these programs. We're seeing a lot of we're getting a few curveballs from CalRecycle already. They've really started hitting key points. They're going to push certain buttons of this regulation sooner than others. And we're seeing it in other cities that we service as well. So we are prepared. We're geared up for it. That's part of this process and the agreement that you guys have before you today. But yeah, it's going to change the way we do things. But we're here, and we actually. We're glad we have a yard here and we can be a part of the community because it's really been a blessing for us. And again, I'm reflecting back to 8 years ago and how it was almost easier back then when we were proposing and getting into these agreements. Now these things are much more complicated, which again is one of the things I think Daniel mentioned. This agreement has all this updated language for the different provisions that affect our industry. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have and appreciate the partnership and everybody in the city. We love it here.
Other questions for council? Any questions from the public? No? Okay, we'll bring it back to council. Think of any others? Okay, then we have a recommended action by staff for the city council. We can either approve this resolution or we can decide not to. So those are our two options here. So if we are going to approve it, I will need a motion.
A motion to approve Resolution 2022-064.
I will second that motion.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I forgot to mention, I live in the county, so is there a website where I can get on and ask for road improvements and other things? If anybody knows, please let me know, because that is a great feature, and I wish we had that. But I'll digress.
I have a question for you. We have a couple residents that live in Fresno County, bordering Tulare County,
Yes.
that you don't service. So maybe we can do a swap.
Yes,
We've had some complaints about that.
I'm aware of that issue. We're working as hard as we can to be able to provide that and extend that service. There's a few obstacles, but hopefully we can overcome them at some point in the future. But I know what you're talking about. Trust me, we're the ones that we can, we are doing.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. On to item 6.2, capital improvement infrastructure project timelines and the Sierra Street roundabout update. Our staff report and presentation is by our city engineer, Dave Peters.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council.
Evening.
In your packet is a schedule of our very robust capital improvement program for this year. Lots of projects. So I just kind of hit some of the highlights, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them along the way. Our police station's about to go under a remodel. So we've been working the last 6 months or so with the chief. So it's the training room and the armory and the saunas are going away and offices are getting remodeled. So a pretty big change over there. We should be out to bid with that project in just a few weeks, finishing up the project in the spring. We'll also be doing this year the first phase of our TOD project. So that if you remember, that plan had lots of elements to it. So we're funding the very first phase of that, which is adding curb extensions on Lewis Street and then the bike lane on Draper. So that project will be kicking off soon. We're just waiting for the agreement from FCTA. Got a project to put sidewalks on the west side of 18th Avenue between Tulare and Klepper. So it's going to impact some front yards. We've met with people out there several times. We're going to have another comprehensive workshop with all the property owners in the next few weeks, and then we'll be going out to construction on that project in the spring. We're going to resurface our downtown parking lot. So that's the parking lot behind the library, parking lot behind here, and one across the street on Smith Street. That work actually we're hoping to get done before Christmas. So we're doing the second phase of Madsen Avenue. So we repaved Madsen Avenue up to Stroud, so we'll be going all the way up to Cam. That project will be probably late spring, early summer. It's a federally funded project, so there's a few more hoops to jump through there. 10th Avenue will be repaving 10th Avenue from Stroud all the way up to Cam, so kind of on the other side of town. Trying to coordinate that work with the apartment complex that just got approved there a few months ago. We'll be repaving the southbound lanes on 18th, so if you've been up in that area, the new subdivisions, the streets being widened out on the west side, or excuse me, on the east side, we'll actually be doing the west side, the southbound lanes. So the developer's going to actually do that. We're going to reimburse them. We're working on getting that done. Repaving 22nd Street. We'll be doing our annual slurry seals next spring. We're just kicking off a remodel to the senior center kitchen. So that was one of the grants that we got. We just got our architect on board to get started on that project. And then kind of a long-term
project that we're just starting to work on, and Adam may have more to say about this, but that's our the grant for our Laurel Street Dog Park. So we're just bringing the landscape architect on board and starting to have some staff meetings on that. One of the projects that we're working on that's kind of behind the scenes that you guys never really see, but we're updating our urban water management plan. So that's something that we have to do as an urban water provider. So every 5 years we have to update that plan. So that's kind of what we're working on this year. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any specific questions on that. And want to give a brief update on the roundabout. So I'm sure you guys are all aware it's open. It's not done. There's lots of striping that still needs to be installed. There's some dike. Today they fog sealed the pavement. So that's like an asphalt emulsion that like seals all the pores in the pavement, makes it last longer. Next Wednesday they'll be doing the permanent striping. We won't get, you'll see the changeable message signs. So that's the things on the trailer that say roundabout ahead. Those are going away. Those are just temporary. We actually have flashing beacons. You'll see, if you've been out there, there's signs that have like the arrows in the circle that say roundabout ahead. That'll actually have a flashing beacon on it. And we'll have permanent street lights installed too at all the conflict points of the roundabout, which will allow us to take those temporary light trailers away. The reason that we have those temporary facilities out there is it's just impossible to get the light standards. So all of that's supposed to come in and be installed by Thanksgiving. And then obviously in the middle, we've got the treatment in the middle. They're manufacturing the copy pot replica tower right now. And then we're looking at some options to either landscape or do some hardscape in the center of the median. That should be done as well by Thanksgiving. So again, not done, but I spent some time out there on Sunday. I think traffic's working pretty well. I think people are kind of used to them now. So we're pretty happy with the way things are going. So again, happy to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Since we're on the roundabout right now, as far as signage goes, so as you come around, as you're heading west down Sierra, and then once you pass over Bethel, that turns into Conejo, but
Right.
the sign says Sierra.
Yeah, for the
Street
one
down.
that for the westbound leg, yeah, they're going to swap
Yeah.
that out.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for pointing that out.
Sorry about
Who wants
that.
to go next? I have like 3 questions.
I just have one. So
Yeah.
you're anticipating roundabout completion by Thanksgiving?
Yeah, should be.
Everything.
That's what they're telling us. Yeah.
That's all.
I mean,
tower thing in the middle.
yeah. They're like they said, they're in the process of manufacturing. They've been working on that off-site. They're going to manufacture it and then bring it to the site and install it. So yeah, we've already approved the shop drawings and everything for it. So
Thank you.
yeah.
The tower that it's going to be a coffee pot, right?
It's going to look just like the one across the street, just smaller. I think the total height on it's 20 feet. So
It's made out of what? Stainless steel? What's it made out of?
the tank section itself is made out of thin sheet metal with all, the handle and the spout and all that stuff. And then the tower structure is actually made out of wood. So it will have a breakaway capabilities. Yeah, so it won't be a fixed object, yeah. So, but nobody's allowed to hit it, so just I want to get that out there.
Throw it out there for the general public to. Can you remind the public that are listening in on Facebook?
Yeah.
Can you remind them who paid for the roundabout?
Yeah.
Just for general.
Yeah, it was a highway safety improvement program grant, federally funded project, yeah. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, I have a
Covering that topic.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
me too.
I have 2. Okay, I have a couple questions.
Mhm.
Let's start with the roundabout.
Okay.
You said that you were out there watching on Sunday.
Yeah.
Did you notice any issues with any semi trucks going around it?
I did see a couple trucks go through it. I did not see any issues or any problems. So one of the things that I should point out again is the stamped concrete in the middle. That's a specific truck apron. So the intention is that when the trucks with the trailers go through there, that the trailers will actually mount that and use that to maneuver through the roundabout. The reason it's different is because we don't want a really wide area of asphalt, because then you're going to get cars that are going to try to go side by side in the roundabout.
I'm
But
glad
yeah,
you
I did not see any.
clarified
I did not see any problems out there. When
I followed yesterday. I've actually followed 2, and one going out and one coming back, and neither one, and both had trailers behind, had no trouble going through there.
when I've gone around it, I didn't notice the issue too, but I think that it's important for the public to know that.
Correct, yeah.
stamped concrete.
And we spent a lot of time making
Specific.
sure, through various truck turning template tools and stuff that we have to make sure that it was large enough to accommodate those vehicles.
And it's especially important right next to Fire Station 2.
Correct, yeah.
Then I did have someone reach out to me with a picture of, there's an area that doesn't have the handicapped ramp in the sidewalk yet. I don't know if you've noticed that, where it does have, I don't know the technical name of it, the yellow stripe with the bumps in the middle.
Yeah, the truncated domes.
And so
yeah.
one side does have it, and then the other side does not have it.
I can look into that,
Okay.
yeah. They should all have the truncated domes when they're finished,
Okay.
yeah.
And, okay, that was it for the roundabout. Klepper to Tulare, you probably knew I was going to ask about this.
Oh, 18th, yeah.
Yes, the sidewalk,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's your district. And so you said that you have talked to all of those residents?
We have met with the residents, excuse me, I should clarify, we've met with the residents for the section between, because they were funded in different sections, but it's going to go out as one project. We've met with the residents a couple of different times between Tulare and Klepper, because there's several of those properties that we're actually in the process of acquiring right-of-way from. So we need a couple of feet of right-of-way to make it work. There has been some contact with the residents on the north section from Stroud to Klepper, but it hasn't been formal. So we still need to do that formal contact and workshop. But there's not any right-of-way that's needed from those properties. So all the sidewalk will be constructed in our right-of-way, and it's all being constructed right up against the curb that's there. And we're trying to minimize impacting the yards. We were out there Friday, Daniel and I and our design team were out there Friday. We walked the whole segment, and it's really not as impactful as you would think. I came away feeling pretty good about it. There are shrubs that need to be moved, and there are some mow strips, but like in terms of like big plants or trees or any sort of big structures or anything, mailboxes, we don't have to move any of that stuff. So
Okay.
I think it'll fit in nicely with the yards. But we will definitely have a robust contact. We're actually contacting not only, we're going to put door hangers on all the homes along that stretch, as well as mail out letters to the property owners, so that if there's a renter there, they get notified, but then the property owner gets notified as well. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then the last question, you mentioned the bike, starting on the plans for the bike lanes. Did you say on Draper?
Yeah.
Okay. And
We haven't started yet. We're waiting on the agreement, but we will be. Yeah.
And you'll bring that back to us?
Oh
so
yeah,
we
for
can have
sure. Oh
discussion?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
I always appreciate how easy it is to read for the public, right? To read the capital improvement projects every year, right? What's started, what's in completion,
Yeah.
where the money's coming from. I really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, sure.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Oh, thank you.
It's information only. I failed to ask if there was any public comment on this. Is there any public comment on item 6.2 before we move on to 6.3? Nope. Okay, so we will move on to item 6.3. Prop 68 statewide park development programs, staff report and presentation by our Community Services Director, Adam Castaneda.
Well, good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. So my first presentation for you tonight is in regards to Prop 68, our statewide grant program. As many of you know or were involved with, Prop 68 was approved in 2018, authorizing $4 billion in general obligation bonds to the state and local parks for environmental protection projects, restoration projects, largest bond amount in the state's history. The programs that they ran the last couple of years, there's been a non-competitive portion and a competitive portion. So I'm going to break this up into two different sections with the assistance of the Public Works Director, Daniel Galvez. But the first portion we're going to discuss is the non-competitive grant program. So in 2019, the California Department of Parks and Recreation announced the allocation of non-competitive grant funds through the Parks and Water Bond Act of 2018. These per capita allocations were for all cities and local districts. And the funded amounts were derived by dividing the total bond amounts. Sorry, I keep hearing something. In December of 2021, the Kingsburg Community Services Commission and the Kingsburg City Council announced that these funds were going to be used for the implementation of public restrooms to be installed at Athwal Park. So the project in total, the non-competitive funds, a little over $185,000. As part of the Athwal Park Improvement Project, Phase 2, these restrooms will be prefabricated and were designed with input by the Community Services Commission back in February. CXT, Precast Concrete Products, was the selected manufacturer. And these products, roofs and walls are all fabricated with high-strength precast concrete to meet all local building codes and textured to meet local architectural details. So there is a PowerPoint that was not included, but Abby will pull it up with just some photos. And if you have general questions about the non-competitive portion, I'd be more than happy to answer. If you have questions in regards to the actual building, that's where I'm going to rely on Daniel. So. Okay, so back in February, the Community Services Commission had a several selection of different models to choose from. And the Cortez model is what they landed on. Keeping in mind this is not what it's going to look like. It's just the basic model of how the restrooms are situated and how the building will function. So we have a couple pictures of a couple of options. The design that they chose does have stonework included, and that includes the bottom portion. A lot of their design choices had to do with color, different kind of materials used for the exterior and interior of the buildings. So as you can see, there are dual all-gender restrooms, prefabricated, like I'd mentioned. So this is how they will come and be dropped in. I'm sure Daniel has any more information on the pre-construction work that'll have to get done, of course, beforehand. But this is essentially what the city is going for. And this is just an overlay of what the interior will actually look like, all ADA compliant. So it shows the use of a wheelchair on the inside. And again, it'll be two restrooms. Different options, of course. There's a long list of options that can be included with these restrooms. Community Services Commission kind of broke it down to just some of the ones that they see that were more necessary. This here in the photo, you see the porcelain option, stainless steel option. Obviously, for a public park, it's probably more beneficial for us to go stainless steel, so that's probably what you'll be seeing inside the restrooms, just to help protect from vandalism and being able to maintain it long term. And then, of course, some pictures just that the manufacturer sent over saying that these buildings do withstand, obviously that won't happen, I'm sure, in Kingsburg, but they will withstand some damage, trucks being ran into, and of course, if we foresee a landslide, then the building will stay put. So with that, those are all my photos, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and again, if they're building related, I'm sure Daniel can answer those for you.
Any questions from council regarding the restrooms?
This is something that's been needed for a long time. So we said, as we were building out Athwal Park, that we would be doing, putting in restrooms out there. So it's nice to see that we're getting there, that this is finally going to happen. So I think this is exciting. And also, when we first looked at building out restrooms, it was much higher than this amount. So going the prefab route was a much cheaper route. So I'm really happy that we were able to find something that's going to work and still be really nice out there, because that park deserves to have a really nice restroom as well. So I think this was a nice balance to find.
And it was included on the capital improvement project list. So we're thinking April 2023 is completion.
That's what I was going to ask. I have two thoughts. I'm wondering if maybe we can use some of the money from the tobacco grant to put vape detectors in those bathrooms. I just keep seeing that we have a lot of teen or other use and issues at that park. And maybe we can have some cameras just outside with public safety funds. No, the vape detectors are actually in the bathroom.
So it's a smoke detector. Okay, gotcha. Oh, that's really
But it
good
is
idea.
part of the grant, I know, for specific areas, but our parks are supposed to be smoke-free. So
Right.
just a thought, maybe even Memorial Park, but since we're talking about bathrooms here.
Good call out.
Thank you.
Right.
Next.
Okay, so this is the same staff report. Now we're going to switch over to the competitive portion if there are no additional questions. So competitive portion, 2019, 2020, Community Services Commission, City Council sought out grants from the state. 7 parks qualified as disadvantaged in the community. Very competitive process. Of all the applications that we've submitted, at least over 10 of them, we did finally get the one. And so we're happy to make that announcement to you previously this year. But it's for the Kingsburg Dog Park, the $1.2 million to redo the Laurel Street Dog Park. And as Dave mentioned not too long ago, we're in the development essentially of kind of going through and talking with the engineering department on getting some just pre-deliberation stuff going on. So that we could essentially take this back to Community Services Commission, get their input. They have created a subcommittee just for the dog park that will be spending a lot more time and dedicating some of their resources to kind of overseeing that. But again, it's getting the ball rolling on it, and yeah. So if there's any questions regards to the dog park time frame, we're looking at the end of 2023. And staff would like to get more community input. So throughout the next several months, we will be doing some survey information, gathering maybe some workshops for local community. Originally, the grant was granted because of the input that we had already received from the community, but we'd like to continue that process and give them a park that they truly want. So
it's going to be done just about a year from now.
God willing. The contract does end in 2028, so it was just recently extended, but staff would like to see it done a lot sooner. So
I have a question. For the Community Services Project Review with a public input opportunity, is that just a regular Community Services Commission meeting?
That proposed date is just a regular meeting for commission, but there will be potential workshops for the public to come in. And I believe there's been talk through the commission about potential online surveys for residents so they can bring in their input, and then we can discuss it at a Community Services Commission.
Awesome, I appreciate that. I know the dog park is a question we get a lot, a passion for a lot of families in the community. So making sure that we promote that opportunity to have any input before we host that meeting or workshop would be appreciated.
And it's not on the 15th. It's just after because it says October 15th. That's not the.
But I see public
date.
workshops,
It
input,
would-
final decision.
Our next meeting's on the 26th.
Got it.
The 15th is a Saturday.
Okay.
Oh. Okay. I do that workshop.
Unless we're meeting on a Saturday, I'll need a sub that.
They let me know. I could do that one.
Right.
Any questions? No? Any from the public on either of these items? Exciting. And they're information only. Thank you. And you want to just stay up there?
I might as well. Let's do it.
Okay, our next item is 6.4, and this is a special event application proposed amendment, and the report and presentation is by Community Services Commission Director Adam Castaneda.
All right, so this is a fun one. Back in 2019, again, just a popular year, this was brought to council's attention about a special event permitting policy for local organizations interested in using public right-of-way for special events. But throughout the process, it was determined that community-based events open to the public were allowed to utilize public streets, especially in the downtown corridor, so all commercial side streets, and then, of course, Draper Street. And so with that, we added a safeguard to have council approve the use of the streets and then give permission on events. And throughout the last several years, we've brought several events to your attention saying, hey, they want to use Draper Street for this event. It's community-based. Staff believes that it's followed all regulations, and we'd like to grant them access to the public right-of-way. But since then, since the implementation of this, we have seen a couple of areas that might need some improvement. And again, this was something we had just created, so kind of a first draft. It's taken 3 years, and now we kind of feel there's some room for improvement. This is just specifically for street closures in the downtown commercial area. As the tier policy currently states, City Council approval of street closures must be received at least 30 days prior to the date of the street closure. With that verbiage, it became very, very tricky because it's 30 days prior to the event closure. And so a lot of applicants are assuming it's 30-day application submittal before their event. And so it kind of puts us in a bind with admin approval, getting information and updates from other staff departments, and then submitting that into a staff report and then presenting to council. A lot of the public don't realize that the city council only meets twice a month. And there has been instances where it falls in between a certain period where there's either no meeting or they just missed a meeting, or it's the week of a meeting and there's no time for staff to put something together. So I met with the Public Works Department, Administrative Services, and the City Clerk just to kind of retool what we were thinking about, any changes that would make this easier for staff and easier for council. And we came up with extending the time period for submitting the application and augmenting the language of 30 days prior to an event. So the new language would refer just to the applications and not the approval from council. So we're proposing application must be received at least 45 days prior to the proposed event date for council approval. This means that they have 45 days before their event. They can submit the application, give staff enough time to send that out to the department heads, get their yeses, nos, any stipulations, and that still then gives my department enough time to put a staff report together and submit that to you guys for approval. And so we feel that going this way would allow staff, the opportunity to serve the public, but it would also benefit the applicant because it would give them enough time. More times than not, all the applicants are hitting that 30-day mark. They know 30 days is up, so they're going to come and submit an application, and it's just it ties down admin, and then depending on when council meets, sometimes it's a hit and miss. August, for example, when there was a longer break of council not meeting, and there were events on the docket that were coming in, and we couldn't accommodate. So that is the recommendation that I'd like to propose tonight in the language, just of adjusting it. But of course, I'm seeking just council input on your thoughts and possible other adjustments.
I don't think it's a big change. It's just making it clear to the public. I would be concerned about the meetings like that were dark. Like if that would, like maybe it needs to be specific, like July and what's the other one? November, December? I don't know. Just a thought.
January, right?
And the process just a question, it has to go to council in a public meeting?
It has to remit on New Year's, though.
Like New Year's?
Correct.
Like January? No? Okay. Is 45 days enough?
45 days is plenty, yes.
I'm with whatever you guys need. I mean, if
Yeah,
that's what
exactly.
staff needs, then you're the ones who are going to have to go through these and approve them, and make sure you've got plenty of time to bring them to us. I should say for approval, but make sure you guys have, have everything that you need from your end. So without rushing it too. So if 45 days is what you need, then I'm for whatever staff needs. Make sure that can happen. And there's no other changes, correct? Just the
Just the street closure. The last piece I didn't bring up was the required for rescheduling. It's the same. It was just administrative approval is required for event rescheduling due to inclement weather forecasts or emergencies. So it has come up where it's going to rain the day before, and they want to propose a date change. And with that, it makes it difficult because then if I have to bring it back to council, it pushes them back. But if we could have, city manager approval or admin approval saying, what you can change the dates of this as long as it works within the time frame. So.
Should work.
Any other council discussion before I open it to the public? Do we have any public comment on this item? Okay, we'll bring it back to council. We will have to have a motion based off of our recommended action by City Council from staff if we want to move forward with this.
I'll make that motion to approve agenda item 6.4.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Adam. On to item 7.1, Community Services Commission. I believe the next date we meet is October 26th, and we did not meet in the month of September. 7.2, Public Safety Committee.
We'll be meeting next month in November.
7.3, Chamber.
Nothing to report.
7.4, Economic Development.
We have not met.
7.5, Finance Committee.
Have not met.
7.6, Planning Commission. We have not met. 7.7, SKGSA.
Nothing to report.
7.8, Downtown Business Improvement District.
We meet next Thursday.
7.9, Council of Governments.
Nothing to report.
7.10, Council Member Reports.
Nothing to report.
No?
No. Just a couple things. I attended the State of the County Luncheon on behalf of us, and also today was the opening ceremony of the Big Fresno Fairs that kicked off today. And I know we have on Monday, correct, on the 10th, is the city horse race. So hopefully we can all attend that as well. And then on last Thursday, I worked with the city of Fresno and the Fresno City Council to get us the donation of the Roding Park train. So that is for sure on board. It's coming. So it's only been 4 years in the making, but now the time will be about getting that moved down here to the depot. So, but I'm really thankful that the city of Fresno was very helpful with that and has been. They talked about moving it to San Luis Obispo, but luckily it's going to be coming here to our depot instead. So,
Yay.
Get that done on time. So I'm very excited about it. So if you do hear something about it, it is true. It is coming down here to us. So, yay.
Oh, yeah, I have one thing. I think it was last week. I went to the United Healthcare grand opening. Alex was there and Dave was there. So it went well. It was a nice ceremony. They had a nice lunch. That's all I have.
Nice to see that building being used.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone else? 7.11, City Manager's Report.
Just a brief update. The fall cleanup days are later this month, so Thursday, October 20th through the 22nd. So Mid Valley was here a little bit earlier. It's held at their yard, so that's free to all city residents to take items over there. So we've been putting that out on social media and also on the Kingsburg Carrier, but Thursday the 20th through Saturday the 22nd. That's all I have.
Those are important days. Thank you. Item 8, future agenda item.
Just an update. We have to publish in the paper a notice for when we're looking to update fees. So we have every year we have annual fees that have to be modified or brought for your consideration and approved by council. So that'll be coming at the next meeting on the 19th.
Thank you. Item 9, the Kingsburg City Council is going to adjourn out of regular calendar into closed session for 9.1, conference with labor negotiators, California Government Code 54957, with our city designated representative, Alexander Henderson. 9.2, conference